The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all those in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend James L. Porter, United Methodist Church, Midlothian, Virginia.
Good morning.
Morning.
And may I say it's both an honor and a privilege to be here once again with you in the well of the Senate. Thank you so much. And at this time, I'll ask if you would bow and pray with me, please. Almighty God, we give you thanks for all the blessings you've poured out upon us this past year. And though it's been a difficult time for many of our citizens, we ask and believe that you will bless our country and the Commonwealth of Virginia in 2018. We thank you that we live in a country and a state where our leaders are elected by a majority of the people rather than selectively chosen by only a few. We thank you for our elected leaders, and we ask that you give them the wisdom to enact legislation that will enable our citizens to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Please bless this delegation and help everyone here to aspire to the highest ideals of their own personal faith, as well as to the high ideals of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Let there be a spirit of mutual cooperation in this chamber that crosses every boundary, so that the will of the people will be carried out for the mutual benefit of all of our citizens. Lord, please bless this day as we ask for your guidance on so many important issues, and help us remember to respond to your graciousness by giving you all of the praise and glory. Amen.
Clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Friday, February 23rd, 2018.
The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Hey, Peachy, good Monday afternoon to you, Mr. President.
Good Monday.
I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have a communication from the governor.
Sorry, Senator Stanley. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now comes the time in the morning hour. We have the privilege of greeting our wonderful distinguished guests here in the gallery. I would ask everyone please to join me in observing the way that we do this, which is that a senator will stand, recognize the individual or group. I will then give the warm greeting of the Senate, and we will all clap together at once. So thank you all so much. I'd like to start by calling on the senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
I rise for two introductions.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, giving our invocation this morning was the Reverend James L. Porter of United Methodist Church in Midlothian. He gave a very moving and thoughtful and appreciated prayer and invocation to us to get us off to a good start this morning. He is a longtime friend of the Senate and a big supporter of our page program here in the Senate. And, Mr. President, he is joined by his wife, Elizabeth Porter, and I'd ask that we offer them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would the Reverend James Porter and your wife, Elizabeth, please rise in the gallery? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you for that really beautiful prayer. We echo the words of the senior senator from Richmond City of our gratitude for you always showing up for us and getting us off to the right foot. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here. We are honored by your presence, and I know that you're dear friends with Madam Clerk, who loves you very dearly and speaks very highly of you. So you're welcome here anytime. You're part of the Senate family, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Reverend Porter and his wife, Elizabeth. Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, also joining us in the Senate today is a group of senior high school students from Powhatan High School. I had the opportunity to meet with them this morning in Senate Room 3 and talk a little bit about state government, and was really impressed by this really fantastic group of young people, really hard workers, engaged students, and I'm very proud of them. And I'd ask that we also offer these Powhatan High School seniors the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our leaders from Powhatan High School please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful that you took the time to visit us here in the Senate and in the Capitol. We echo the eloquent words of the senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant, who I'm sure is joined by the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan. We appreciate you all very much, and you're welcome here anytime, and you have very, very bright futures ahead of you. I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our leaders from Powhatan High School. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for the purposes of an introduction.
I thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, we have in the gallery with us two individuals that have made a tremendous positive impact on my office this session. One is Victoria Baldwin. Victoria is a criminal justice major, and she is getting a minor in Homeland Security. She is also a member of the girls volleyball team at VCU and has been a tremendous asset to our team. Second individual is Tashar Denza. Tashar is also a criminal justice major and a Homeland Security minor, and he's been with us since the beginning of session as well. They are doing a tremendous job taking the load off the rest of our office, and I'd ask that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate and thanks from myself and the rest of our team.
I thank the senator. Would Tashar Denza and Victoria Baldwin please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are really honored that you would take the time to be here. Also, very grateful for your service to the senator from Hanover and to all of us. We are appreciative that you leaders would take the time to get involved in our process and go VCU. We're big Rams fans, and we're playing a game of basketball tonight over the Siegel Center. So we're looking forward to that and very thankful to both of you. So I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our two distinguished guests. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you. On behalf of the senior senator from Richmond and the junior, sorry, it's Monday. On behalf of the senior senator from Richmond and the senator from Petersburg, I ask that you give a welcome in the gallery today to representatives from the Massey Cancer Center, including P.J. Shaver and Julie Dillon. As you know, VCU Massey Cancer Center is a nationally recognized cancer institution committed to saving and improving lives through innovative research and advanced cancer care. They are proud to partner with the legislature to reduce Virginia's cancer burden. And this morning, everyone should have received a Team Massey button in your office, along with the invitation to attend tonight's basketball game, which I'm sure Senator Peterson will be reminding you, if you haven't already, to write in your checks. And as someone, as many of us in this chamber, we've had family members, in some cases ourselves, who have been touched by cancer. But on behalf of those family members, I ask that you dig a little deeper and be a little more generous in responding to the invitation. But remember that tonight, while you're there to cheer for the Senate team, we are all tonight Team Massey.
Thank the Senator. Would P.J. Shaver and Julie Dillon from the Massey Cancer Center please rise in the gallery, and all of our friends from Massey. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful for the work that you do all year round in such an important area, and we are looking forward to that basketball game tonight to help raise funds for, I can't think of a better cause, but thank you for making this Commonwealth a better place, for helping all of our families to deal with something that really touches all of us in some way or another. We are so grateful that you're here. You're welcome back anytime, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Massey Cancer Center. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Monday, February 26, 2018. Unfinished business House Bill 486. The House has rejected the Senate amendments.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I would insist and request that we go to a committee of conference.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendment and respectfully request a committee of conference on the bill? All those in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
House Bill 1142. The House has rejected the Senate amendments.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would ask that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
I thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendments and respectfully request a committee of conference on the bill? All those in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
House Bill 1379. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I would insist and request that it go to committee of conference.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendment and respectfully request a committee of conference on the bill? All those in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills. Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 211 has passed the House with amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I would move that we concur with the House amendment. And speaking to that,
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, through discussion over there when I presented the bill, we changed the word ensure to provide for. I still don't see where there's any significant difference, but Mr. President, I'm fine with it, so I'd move we concur with the House amendment.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate accede to the request, agree to the House amendment? All those in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Senate Bill 213 has passed the House with amendments.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we accept the House amendments and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
as was once said in the House, change the word here, change the word there. It's okay. No, actually, what it does, Mr. President, is provide that the tax benefit from July 20, 2010 be moved, which was a typo, of course, to July 1, 2018. And it also makes a technical amendment that makes sure that these aircraft, which provide service and military training for the purpose of, after just military combat. So I ask we accept the amendments.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 249 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the body agree to the substitute. This is a companion bill, and it puts it into identical arrangements. It's a technical amendment, and it puts it in identical arrangement to the sister bill.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Senate Bill 501 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we accept the amendment. It basically is a technical amendment that strikes 90 acres and puts 40 acres, which the expo will be sitting on. The other 50 acres are acres surrounding that expo. I hope we accept the House amendment.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Senate Bill 389, the House insists on its amendments and requests a committee of conference.
Senator Chafin.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I move that the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference on Senate Bill 389.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference on Senate Bill 389? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully move that all the House bills on the third reading on pages 8 through 23, including House Bill 2 through House Bill 1604, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who desires to remove a House bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar third reading, pages 8 through 23, House Bill 2 through House Bill 1604, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in a block. Clerk will read the number of the bills.
House Bill 2, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 50, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 80, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 84, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 134, reported for the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
House Bill 192, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 215, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 231, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 274, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 287, reported from the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 303, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 344, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 387, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 438, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Mr. President.
Senator from Bedford, Senator
Mr.
Newman.
President, could House Bill 438 come out of the block and buy for the day and needs one more amendment to it, sir?
Without objection, House Bill 438 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 453, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 489, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 544, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 569, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 614, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 793, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 810, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 813, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 830, reported from the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 897, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 976, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1003, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1085, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1088, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1156, reported for the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1157, reported for the Committee on Education and Health with amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1178, reported from the Committee on Transportation with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1194, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1303, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1349, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 1378, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1383, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1395, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 1419, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1485, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1491, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1499, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 1522, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 1523, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 1532, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1534, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1571, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 1604, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Question is, shall the House bills pass in a block? That is, all bills except for House Bill 438. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 424, a bill relating to animal shelters, administration of biological products, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Mr. President,
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Could I go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 424 will go by for the day.
House Bill 790, a bill relating to licensed barbers and cosmetologists exemptions, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology, and there are 5 floor amendments.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be agreed. The passage of the bill. This deals with licensed barbers and cosmetologists, exempts people working in a barbershop and a cosmetologist salon whose duties are confined to blow drying, cleaning, and styling of hair.
Hey, Senator, we're going to take up the floor amendments if that's okay. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate waive the reading of the floor amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the floor amendments will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendments is waived. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we agree to the floor amendments and speaking to the amendments.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you just heard, House Bill 790 is an agency bill that exempts blow-dry bars from state licensing requirements. A few cosmetologists and salons have raised concerns that by using the word styling, which isn't a defined term, that it could inadvertently lead to unlicensed individuals venturing into activities beyond what is envisioned by this bill. And so to make more clear that shampooing and cleansing would not be considered licensed activity under any circumstances, but that cosmetologist styling services would not require a state license only if performed in a cosmetology salon that would still be subject to state regulation. The department provided these floor amendments just to make that clear, to address some of the concerns you may have seen in emails that you've been getting. And I ask that we adopt the floor amendments.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor amendments be adopted? Someone else wish to be heard?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Responsibility, Senator Reeves.
Would the senator from Richmond rise for a quick question?
Will Senator rise for a question?
Yes.
Senator rises. Give the floor.
Mr. President, would this have prevented the accident that happened to Senator Peterson's hair?
Mr. President, I would suggest that Senator Peterson's hair is a good example of why you don't want these folks to be in business without some state oversight.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. Senator Peterson wishes to be heard. question is, shall the floor amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendments are adopted. Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass as amended.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall House Bill 790 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 790 passes.
House Bill 1124, a bill relating to advisory boards on service and volunteerism membership terms sunset. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could that bill go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 1124 will go by for the day.
House Bill 158, a bill relating to technical adjustments of legislative district boundaries of House of Delegates and Senate districts. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill's passage and speaking to that motion.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President and members of the body, this is something that we have never discussed before. You will recall that in the past, this body has actually passed technical adjustments following a decennial redistricting. And we have done this at the request of our localities who have implored us to do so, one, mostly to save them money, but also to resolve a lot of technical challenges that they have in following elections. Then we stopped. So what this bill would do, it says that the General Assembly can make those technical adjustments to legislative districts, but it draws it very narrowly. And it says that it would be permitted solely for the purpose of making the district boundaries coincide with the local voting precinct boundaries. And if you're concerned, the adjustments have to be consistent with the criteria adopted for the preceding redistricting. So again, it draws it very narrowly. For those who have concerns about whether or not this is consistent with the Constitution that says it can only be done every 10 years, I would say that proponents of the bill argue that the language in the Constitution requires redistricting every 10 years, but it doesn't prohibit redistricting outside those 10 years. But again, this draws it very narrowly. And from a practical standpoint, again, I would say that it has been the custom that we have done this cleanup after redistricting. And so with that, I would ask that the body support the bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I rise to speak to the bill.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I rise to speak in opposition to the bill. I want to address one issue, and that's the issue that the Senator from Fauquier has already raised, and that's the constitutionality of this. There was a court case that was heard filed in late 2011, heard in 2012, that, among other things, where the judge dealt with this particular issue. That situation we had was that in 2011, we did not succeed between the House and the Senate in agreeing on congressional districts. There was, at the beginning of early in the 2012 session, there was legislation passed to create the districts. The court case had already been filed, the suit had already been filed on that case prior to the redrawing of the districts that occurred in early 2012. When the case was heard, the judge at the Richmond Circuit, who was hearing the case, did specifically say that his interpretation was that the Constitution requires that the districts be drawn only in a year ending in 1. He went on, however, to say in this case he felt it was appropriate to accept the boundaries as they were drawn in 2012, since they were not a redrawing of boundaries that had been drawn in 2011, and that if the boundaries had not been redrawn, the first action that he would have taken from the bench was to direct the General Assembly to draw district boundaries, since district boundaries had not been drawn in 2011. But certainly from that opinion, he made clear that what's being proposed in this particular bill does not meet the test of the Constitution, and I would hope it would be the pleasure of the body to reject this bill today.
Thank the Senator. Any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 158? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 158 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 158 passes.
House Bill 339, a bill relating to the Virginia Debt Collection Act, Public Institutions of Higher Education, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 339 requires the public institution of higher education to provide a student currently enrolled in the institution the option to pay the debt in periodic payments over the course of the term or semester in which the account became past due. I would ask the Senate to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 339? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 339 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 339 passes.
House Bill 397, a bill relating to absentee voting, certain information not required when completing application in person, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we pass the bill and speaking to that motion.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill says is that when you are applying to vote absentee in person, you do not have to include the last 4 digits of your Social Security number on that application. The person still has to complete the rest of the application, including the reason that you can't vote on Election Day, so you have to give the excuse. You still have to show one of the accepted forms of a photo identification. And the whole process has to occur in the office of the General Registrar and in the presence of the Registrar, so nothing else changes. And if you notice, you compare this to when you vote in person on Election Day, you aren't actually required to provide any part of your Social Security number. When the delegate came forward to make this presentation in committee, I think there were a number of us who were skeptical, but after we heard the presentation, he came at the request of a constituent who had had a number of issues with identity fraud, identity theft. And so that was the compelling reason that he gave for this, and that was why the number of the members of the committee supported the bill. So with that, I'd move passage of the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 397? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 397 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 16.
Ayes 24, noes 16. House Bill 397 passes.
House Bill 507, a bill relating to the standards of quality, instructional programs, and positions dual language, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I yield to the senator from Southern Fairfax on the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that measure.
Senator has the floor.
Yes, this is a very straightforward bill. What it does is it would make it clear in the code that when school divisions are providing educational services to English language learners, those with limited English proficiency, those individuals may, but are not required, but may be taught in a dual language program where they have a teacher who is teaching them both in English and in another language, presumably their native language. And the code section here basically says identification of students with limited English proficiency and enrollment of such students in appropriate instructional programs, and then adds the language which may include dual language programs whereby such students receive instruction in English and a second language.
Thank the Senator. What purpose does the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Barker rise for a question?
Will Senator rise for a question?
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Senator rises. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked the gentleman, dual language instruction sounds great, but you know where I went to high school is Annandale High School, and there are a plethora of languages spoken in Annandale High School now. What I asked the gentleman is how many different languages would be taught in one class?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this does not provide an answer to that. What it does is allows the local school division to make decisions and try to determine what's in the best interest of the students that it has as to how to place them, whether to have them in an English-only program or a dual language program, and if so, what types of languages would be spoken in that dual language program.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. What purpose is the senior senator from Loudoun County, Senator Black, rise?
Speak to the measure.
The senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to add my 2 cents to the debate, I grew up in Miami, Florida, and we always had a couple of Cuban students. Typically they were Cuban, but they were Latin American. And it was very interesting. We didn't have all of the dual language and programs and that type of thing. So they would just come and they would sit, and it was always struck me as sort of a magical process. They would sit there for about the first 6 months, and nothing. They didn't speak the language and so forth, and then it was just sort of like magic, and all of a sudden they began to speak English, and they did fine. And that's just my personal experience, and I saw it dozens of times, and it stuck with me because I thought it's so interesting that it's fairly consistent. There's like a 6-month period, and then with that immersion, they just learn. So I just throw that out as one observation, and it's a reason that I'm voting against the bill, but. Take it, accept it or don't as you please, but that's what I saw when I was growing up. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 507? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 507 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 9.
Ayes 31, noes 9. House Bill 507 passes.
House Bill 590, a bill relating to real property tax assessment or exemption of certain property conveyed or owned by a community land trust. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass, and I speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. House Bill 590 and the following bill, House Bill 591, both deal with community housing development organizations, specifically community land trusts. And since we're not familiar, at least I wasn't totally familiar with that, and there was some reservation about the legislation, so I'd like to describe that a community land trust is a self-governing community housing development organization that is not sponsored by a for-profit organization that acquires land held in perpetuity to convey long-term ground leases, and the primary purpose is to foster affordable housing for low and moderate income families in perpetuity. House Bill 590 requires the local assessor to use the same criteria for assessing community land trust property as is used for assessing property that is deemed affordable rental housing. I move the bill pass, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 590? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 590 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. House Bill 590 passes.
House Bill 591, a bill relating to real property tax exemption for certain leasehold interests held by land bank entities. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
House Bill 591, as I was indicating, has a similar purpose to continue to foster affordable housing, and it exempts leasehold interests in property owned by a land bank from real property taxation. I would again move that the Senate support this piece of legislation.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 591? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 591 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. House Bill 591 passes.
House Bill 594, a bill relating to localities' authority to require abatement of criminal blight on real property. Reported from the Committee on Local Government, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the floor amendment be waived.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the floor amendment be agreed to, and speaking to the amendment.
Senator has the floor.
This amendment would conform Delegate Carr's House Bill 594 and my bill, Senate Bill 451. The amendment would include the language repeated acts of to line 32 of the bill, and this amendment would allow for the bills to be identical. And, Mr. President, I move that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 594? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 594 pass? All in... Oh, sorry. Floor amendment. All in favor of agreeing to the floor amendment will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will yield again to the senator from Petersburg, as this bill is now identical to her Senate Bill 451, which previously passed this chamber.
I thank the senator. Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, the gentleman who assisted me. I move that the bill pass.
Mr. President.
Senator from Franklin.
Speaking to the bill, this is again came out of local government. It just gives the authority to localities to enact ordinances that require corrective actions that would address what we call criminal blight in communities and with regard to certain real property. It defines what criminal blight is and makes sure that we're protecting the neighborhoods that surround what would be criminal blight. And right now we have current law that allows our local governments to enact ordinance for taking action against property owners. But this bill comes from the Virginia Housing Commission, and in that regard, it's the exact same bill that passed this chamber with the senator from Petersburg.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 594? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 594 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 594 passes.
House Bill 690, a bill relating to residency requirement for general registrar's exemption for certain counties and cities. Reported for the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the bill and speaking to that motion. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Mr. President, I move passage of the substitute.
Yes, thank the senator.
That's what I'll do.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Okay, now I move passage of the bill with that terrific substitute and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that substitute, we have conformed this fine bill to be identical to the bill that was passed in this body 36-4, and that was the bill introduced by the senator from Accomack. And what the bill does is it's a residency for registrars bill, and it provides that you may be appointed as a registrar in a county and reside in a city or a county that adjoins that county. And it's actually a practical solution to a real problem for some counties where they have a difficult time finding a competent, qualified registrar who actually resides in their city or county. And so with that, I move passage of the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 690? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 690 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. House Bill 690 passes.
House Bill 709, a bill relating to zoning penalties, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 709 pass. And speaking to the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you. This is a bill which we've also seen before, but basically this allows for when someone is convicted in a criminal court for misdemeanor zoning violation, that is, someone that does building and criminally so and is convicted for that violation, it doubles the fine, the potential of the fine, the max fine that can be awarded against the defendant from $1,000 to $2,000. And the bill also increases the maximum fine for failure to remove or abate the zoning violation after the conviction, and it increases that fine from $1,500 maximum fine to $2,000 for every succeeding 10-day period which the abatement does not occur. So, for those reasons, I renew my motion that House Bill 709 pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph, rise?
Mr. President, speaking against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, if this was something that was heinous, I would understand it. But on line 79, if you read this, it's for any violation of the zoning code. So if somebody refuses to mow their lawn, or if they can't trim a tree, so we're going to take that from $1,000 and double it to $2,000. Now, previously when I served on city council, I had to represent a few citizens, one of them being a master chief who ended up in the hospital. He was in the hospital for 6 weeks. In that 6 weeks, he ended up with 7 violations for failure to mow his lawn, failure to trim his bushes, and those fines would have added up to about $6,000. Well, had we put this in there, those fines could have been $14,000. So I just think this is ridiculous. We're putting a tool in the toolkit to allow an ambitious zoning violator to charge up to $2,000 for any zoning violation that's not corrected. And with that, I hope we would not pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I would ask whether the senator from Franklin would yield for a question.
Will the senator yield for a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'll yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I would ask, am I correct in understanding that this would have retroactive application to, like, current zoning violations, past zoning violations that are currently being prosecuted?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'd answer the gentleman by my review of not only the statute that it seeks to amend, but also the amendments that are made to the statute. I would say that nothing in here which raises the penalty has an indicator which says on or about for anything that occurs after July 1 of 2018. So one would have to assume that if violations occurred in, let's say, this month, and then they're prosecuted and they go to trial because their lawyer keeps getting them a continuance and they go into July or August after the time in which this would become law, then the fine would have increased and it would be retroactive in that regard. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, speaking of the bill,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I know that Franklin County is a very prosperous part of Virginia, and an increase from $1,000 to $2,500 may not be a big deal in Franklin County, but it is for people in other parts of the state. And considering the way in which these fines accumulate, some of them are considered violations for every day that they are in violation. This is a huge change, and I would encourage the body to vote no.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
To speak to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'd like to echo the comments from the junior senator from Virginia Beach. Both he and I served on local government in the Hampton Roads area. I have one constituent who actually built a garage in the back of her house, and they decided that wouldn't it look pretty if there was a cupola on top? Well, come to find out they got a zoning violation because it was too tall. Now, here's the problem. You can't just go up there with an axe and cut it off. you need to call somebody to come and fix it. So obviously, it's probably going to take more than 10 days to have somebody come and fix that zoning violation. That's one problem. And number two, ladies and gentlemen, are we really going to consider raising the fine from $1,000 to $2,500? That's a huge jump, and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're going to pay $1,000, you're going to pay $1,000, or you're going to get hit with $2,500. You're still going to have to pay the money, as the way the code is now at $1,000. There's no reason to double and more this fine. I think it's a bill looking for a problem. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. What purpose does the Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
I'd like to speak to that motion. I just want to say we did hear this in local government, and I also had the Senate companion to this bill. And just a couple things I want to note. This came forward at the request of a jurisdiction. It happened to be Loudoun. And the Loudoun folks have reminded me the local government would not really take a developer to court unless the violation was quite serious. So in a large majority of these cases, these are really violations of codes affecting public safety. So that's an important point. This provision doesn't kick in until there's actually been a conviction, and then it is at the discretion of the judge in terms of how much of a penalty will be applied. This puts a cap of $2,000 rather than $1,000. It seems that if we didn't raise the cap, at least in Northern Virginia, the penalty, if you will, this financial penalty really is not meaningful, because the current law has the cap at $1,000. So to make it a little bit more meaningful, again, to address a violation of public safety, a request was made by the local government to increase that cap to $2,000. I do think this bill is very reasonable, and it is a good tool. I ask the body to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does a junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to emphasize that we're talking about here are criminal violations of the zoning code. And if you look at line 80 of the bill, it makes clear that these are already misdemeanors. And so we're only talking about criminal violations of the zoning code, and I think it's a lot more narrow than it would appear on its face.
Thank you, Senator. What purpose does the Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben, rise?
Briefly to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
The sponsor, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the sponsor reminded me that part of the reason for this bill was that several illegal retaining walls that were not permitted caused safety concerns and stopped children pathways for them to get to school. So what this is doing is just giving an incentive to allow the kids to walk to school more safely and to have that dealt with more quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. What purpose does the Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, just speaking again briefly.
Senator has the floor.
I don't question the zoning enforcement in Loudoun County. Maybe they don't aggressively prosecute these, but I'm telling you, in other parts of the state, you can be prosecuted for misdemeanor zoning violation for technical violations. And you may remember a year or two ago, I had a bill in here that essentially prohibited local governments from seeking to pursue zoning violations where verbal permission was given, and they relied on that verbal permission, did something in reliance on it, and the zoning administrator comes back and tries to enforce the zoning ordinance. And I'm telling you, it happens. And what motivated that case was a situation in which in a jurisdiction in Western Virginia, somebody asked permission to build a wall in front of their house. And the zoning administrator came out and looked at it and says, oh, yeah, you're building the wall behind a hedge that's 6 feet tall. You go right ahead. And they built that wall in reliance upon that representation by the zoning official. And later, the zoning administrator came out and said that's a blatant violation of our zoning ordinance. And they prosecuted this family, never contested the fact that that zoning official had come out and given them permission, prosecuted them criminally for a zoning violation, sought to put them in jail, and sought imposition of these fines. This is not just a technical matter. It is not just to address safety. I mean, these are real property rights issues that people unwittingly walk into. And while some folks, maybe in Loudoun County, are very reasonable, we've got other jurisdictions in which the zoning administrators are not, and they are prosecuting people for these. So this is a big deal.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Northern Chesapeake? Senator Spruill rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, sometimes our friends from Northern Virginia, as we call the other Virginia, forget sometimes that the rest of us don't have the money that they have. Now, this is the bill, this is the Northern Virginia bill from Loudoun County. And sometimes, Mr. President, the people from the other Virginians, we call them sometimes, remind us that they carry Virginia. They remind us on a tax basis that they say we carry Virginia. And I agree with that. I have to keep quiet on that because they have money. So when they bring bills to us because they can't get along, don't punish us because of your bills. We live in Virginia, not in Northern Virginia. So don't punish us. Please don't vote for this. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Franklin County? Senator Stanley rise.
I rise to make sure everybody knows this is not my bill. It's a House bill. And the name up there, if you can read it, is Bell. All right, just came through my committee. And the senator from Rockingham, I appreciate your love of Franklin County and belief that we are prosperous, and I certainly believe it is the best place to live. But it's not my bill. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, again, I want to make sure that everybody understands that it's not my bill. Quite frankly, I mean, we're talking about, do we punish the misdemeanant or don't we? And so I hear from one side, even myself, Mr. President, members of the Senate, I am now conflicted about a bill that is not mine. On the one hand, we have the senator from Alexandria who's making sure kids can get to school with a fine on a zoning violation. And I just got to note that it also helps bunnies and kitties and unicorns get to the Skittles Bridge where all the delicious candy is. And then I hear this horror story of people being put under the jail for building a retaining wall behind a hedge. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I move that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 709? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senator Stanley's bill, House Bill 709, pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 16, noes 24.
Ayes 16, noes 24. House Bill 709 fails.
House Bill 768, a bill relating to the motor vehicle fuel sales tax in certain regions of the Commonwealth price floor, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, as this House bill came to the Senate, it was similar to a bill that the senior senator from Virginia Beach had sponsored, which provides a floor for the motor fuels tax at the wholesale level. The difference was that the House position was that it would be phased into that floor established February the 20th of 2013. With the substitute, we will move directly to that floor, which would produce more revenue for Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 768? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 768 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 13.
Ayes 27, noes 13. House Bill 768 passes.
House Bill 775, a bill relating to removal of snow and ice, county executive form of government. Reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Yes, I'm sure any patron of a House bill is never going to want me to introduce their bills again here on the Senate side, but I'm going to give it a shot again. Mr. President, I now move that House Bill 775 pass. And speaking briefly to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the Senate, this allows and adds Albemarle County and the surrounding areas to the list of where the local governments can provide ordinances and create a reasonable criteria and requirement for the removal of accumulations of snow and ice from public sidewalks by the owner or the other person in charge of the occupied property adjacent to or appertinent to the public sidewalks. Currently, only counties within Northern Virginia Plain District 8 can adopt this ordinance. This allows some other areas right around the rural and urban areas to do so as well. And Senator Deeds had the same bill through here in the Senate, but he has a very worried look on his face, like somehow I'm going to get this bill killed just like I got the other one, unintentionally. But this, again, is not my bill, and therefore I move its passage. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 775? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 775 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 14.
Ayes 25, noes 14. House Bill 775 passes.
House Bill 1144, a bill relating to voter registration, persons assisting with...
Mr. President.
Oh, sorry, Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side for House Bill 709, could we bring that back up?
I had started the title. Yeah.
Reconsider that vote.
Senator, can we keep with this bill for
Yes.
right now, and then we'll come back? Okay. Thank you so much.
House Bill 1144, a bill relating to voter registrations, persons assisting with completion or collection of completed voter registration applications, certain identifying information required. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. And speaking to that motion.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does is it says that if you help somebody complete their voter registration application, or you collect the completed applications and turn them in, that you're required to put your name and your phone number and identify the group that you are with when you provide that then to the registrars. This is intended to be another tool for the registrars to help them so that when they get the registration, that if they have a question, if it's not completed properly, if they can't read the handwriting, they have a way to actually get that information. If you are worried about this or you feel a little squirrely about this bill, you shouldn't, because the application can't be denied for the information not being included. The requirement does not apply to state or local government employees acting in their official capacity. So somebody who's actually part of the registrar's office or a government person who's helping, it doesn't apply to them. So with that, I move that the bill pass. And by the way, it has been requested by the registrars, and I think many of you have heard from them already. It is a priority of theirs because they really need the support to get the information. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. What purpose does the Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville, rise?
I have a question for the chairman of P&E.
Senator, yield for a question?
I yield.
Senator, yield. You have
And
the
this
floor.
is not my bill.
I appreciate the explanation. And for some context, when I go out and I knock doors in my races, I carry my phone with me, and I also carry a tablet. And one of the things that probably in my last election, I think I probably registered about 30 or 40 different people to vote on the spot using my phone or my tablet, not a piece of paper. And looking at this, I couldn't figure out how if I help somebody fill that out, how I'm supposed to indicate that electronically the way this thing has been drafted. And I know that most of our applications today are coming in electronically, and many of these groups are using electronic means to register people in person at various locations. And so I was curious if there was any discussion as to how somebody was supposed to comply with this statute in light of that.
There was no Mr. President, there was not a discussion in committee about how you would comply with this electronically.
Further question?
Further question?
Yes, I yield. Sorry.
Yes, Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Sorry. Well, and the other thing, well, first of all, that concerns me. Secondly, one other concern I had is I'm pretty sure that if you look at the end of Title 24.2, that any violation of a statute within there, and I could be wrong, but I just thought about this now, might be a misdemeanor. And so given that, I assume there's some consequence for not doing this. And as somebody who went out and did it as a state delegate at the time, hopefully as a state senator, if I get around to knocking doors this time, which I hope to do several thousands, would this apply to me? Am I a state official acting in my official capacity as a state legislator obtaining these signatures, or is the intent of that only to apply to state or local registrars or actual state employees that do voter registration but not elected officials who happen to get a paycheck?
Senator has the floor.
The language of the bill says it does not apply to state or local government employees acting in their official capacity. And I would argue that that was probably intended to apply to registrars and people acting in their official capacity that way. But it could be extended to, I don't think it's clear is the answer. But I would argue that the underlying intention of the bill is to address the issues where the registrars are having a really serious problem with people who are assisting people in these applications, and the information is not clear or it's not properly been filled out. And they have no way to go back and actually find that person and figure out how to do it correctly. So we really are creating an environment where it's not like the groups who actually go out and do it, because they really are educated. They go out and they do real voter drives, and they are doing the training, and they are training their volunteers on how to go out and do it properly. But there are people who don't know how to do it properly, and that's what's causing the real issues with our registrars. So when they come back, they're improperly executed, they're wrong, they are illegible, and that's creating a real problem when the voter then shows up and thinks that they can vote and their registration isn't done properly. So that's what we're trying to address. And the registrars have worked really hard to, educate all of us and encourage us to support this bill, and that's why the delegate put the bill in.
Final question.
Further question?
I yield.
Senator.
From your first answer, it also wasn't clear to me. From what you just said, it sounds to me like the problems they're trying to address mostly arise out of paper applications and not electronic ones. And I was curious whether there was any discussion in committee about that, because if that's what the bill is intending to address, it seems to me that ought to probably be in the code to make it clear that for any paper application this has to happen as opposed to an electronic one. Was there any discussion about whether those problems were only paper or also electronic?
Well, I think to the extent that the conversation was about it being illegible and those issues, that's really about a paper document. That is not affecting, obviously, an electronic document. But really, there was not a lot of discussion about that. To your point about your getting in trouble, the issue is if your information is not on there, they're not going to know who actually was the person that was, providing the information. That goes back to that question. There are a couple options. We can hear the bill and vote on the bill today. We can have the bill go by for the day, and we can go back and I can talk to counsel, and we can look at this a little further and find out if there was additional discussion. I can go back and look at the bill language more closely. That may be a better thing to do.
Mr. President, I would request that it go by for the day. I would request that it go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1144 will go by for the day.
I think that's better. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator.
House Bill 1167, a bill relating to jury commissioners' list of unqualified persons provided to general registrars. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendments.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the House Bill 1167 pass. And speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does
is... Senator, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry.
The committee amendments to start.
Sorry, Mr. President. I move that the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Okay, I move the bill's passage and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does is it requires jury commissioners to collect the information that's obtained from persons who are not qualified to serve as jurors. The sheriff, the clerk of the court, or other officials who are responsible for maintaining this information are then authorized to enter into an agreement with the general registrar to make this information available to them. The general registrars are directed to use the information to identify voters who are no longer qualified to vote and then to initiate list maintenance procedures. Again, this is another tool that the registrars can use for purposes of list maintenance. They need it, obviously. The bill does have a delayed effective date of July 1 of 2019. And with that, I move the bill's passage.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1167? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1167 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 1167 passes.
House Bill 1405, a bill relating to the State Board of Elections membership appointment of Commissioner of Elections. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
From Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Mr. President, we would like to ask that go by for the day. We are still having discussions about this bill. Thank you.
Without objection. Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 1405 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1595, a bill relating to vested rights existing landscape cover materials. Reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that HB 1595 pass. And speaking to that bill,
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, you may have seen this. You may have seen this bill before because it is one of the bills that the senator from Rockingham has been championing. He's been championing this bill all session. And this bill has become known as simply the Freedom to Mulch Bill. That we as Americans are endowed by our Creator with certain God-given rights, and those include life, liberty, and the right to mulch. And not to have a town tell us we can't mulch. Because mulch is about as American as liberty and apple pie and bald eagles. America. And so some ordinances have been passed that prohibited a man or a woman's right to mulch. Can you believe it? In a free society of our own, we have prohibitions to mulch. But the senator from Rockingham and the delegate have stood up and said that the right to mulch comes from here. Right here. Not down there. Right here. So what this bill does is it makes sure that no county, city, or town can pass an ordinance that says you can't mulch. Because you know what? You can mulch. You will mulch. We all shall mulch once this bill is passed. And I thank Mr. President and move that HB 1595 once again pass. America.
I thank the senator. For what purpose the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, this freedom to mulch bill is actually in the vested rights section of the code. So vested rights then would become, a mulch would become a vested right. Can you imagine that? It's not, obviously not written in the right section of the code, which is simply one more reason to vote against the bill. But, Mr. President, what this does is to overturn a circuit court, a Rockingham County decision upholding an ordinance of the city of Harrisonburg, which simply says that prospectively apartment owners could not have mulch within 18 inches of certain apartments that could be flammable. That's because mulch can be flammable under certain circumstances. It's a safety measure, Mr. President, pure and simple. The right to mulch stops with my right not to have my house or apartment burned up. So the firefighters are very much opposed to this bill. It would overturn an ordinance that's already on the books, that's been upheld by the courts. They've had the people who fought it. Apparently, there weren't very many opposing it. There was a majority property owners that were complied with the ordinance without any problem. 2 property owners apparently showed up to object to it, and 1 property owner spoke at a public hearing. Otherwise, there's not that much objection, what I'm hearing in the city of Harrisonburg. And so, again, it's not retroactive. It's only prospective. And I think this is an important safety measure, Mr. President. So with that, I would hope they would get a lot of red votes up there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Prince William County? Senator McPike rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak against the measure. And
Press the floor.
I'll be brief. I know folks have heard this argument before. The people who elected us to come down here really asked us to come and focus on a handful of things: transportation, education, maybe a few others, but I'd also probably throw in there public safety. And this is a section of the code which the locality did absolutely the right thing. Under 27-97, adoption of the Fire Prevention Code, it allows, as the Dillon Rule stated, the exact authority which they exercise, which is to identify a life safety issue, figure out a reasonable means. In fact, that they threaded the needle based on last year's legislation and won in court. And now we are not only mitigating that court decision, but we are putting it in a different section of the code under 15.2 versus 27-97, but we are then changing the context of how we're treating our fire protection code. That's a big policy departure. That's a big policy and public safety departure that this chamber should not treat lightly, folks. This is a serious issue. And the senator from Franklin makes good light of things, but I've run fires on the exterior buildings. I've seen people almost die when fire runs out the outside. And I think Harrisonburg has come up with very reasonable approaches to say where we have basically petroleum-based siding, we don't want to have it adjacent to material that we knowingly have it spontaneously combust. This is science. This isn't overreach. This isn't anything else. This is actually proven science. So I asked you to leave this with the public safety folks who understand the fire science and engineering of what's going on here. This is too big of an issue. You know, the one thing that I do know is that I've heard arguments to say, well, we're going to lose business. Okay, let's do a little reality check on this. Couple walks out of an apartment building and looks to the side and saying, ooh, it's a great place, but wait a second, they don't have 18 inches worth of mulch. My OMG, not renting here, said no one ever. No one ever. But what we do have is apartments like this, and this is from Harrisonburg in April of 2007, about 5 years ago, caused by a real fire. This is real, not hypothetical, real. Okay? On a public safety standpoint, we need not legislate fire engineering science from a place that we know nothing about it in these chambers, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, I urge you to defeat the measure.
Thank the senator. What purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Speak to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
I'll be brief, Mr. President. I get a little disturbed when everybody talks about we shouldn't go against these court decisions. Well, the courts are doing what the code tells them to do. And if we feel the code is wrong, it's our job to change it so they don't have irrational court decisions. Secondly, Mr. President, I have a house in Chesapeake, and I, unfortunately, every year have to get about 30 yards of mulch. If it was that big of a deal, Mr. President, it would probably be a thermonuclear disaster. But you know what? I've never seen anything happen like that out of all the neighborhoods I've walked and all the time I've spent out there. This bill is a good bill. I hope we'll support it.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Western Fairfax? Senator Marsden rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak briefly to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President.
One bit of information that was left off.
I requested of the chairman of local government that a letter also accompany this measure, actually a letter when the bill passed, not when a bill was PBI'd, to the Housing Commission to study this so the state can move forward with all the jurisdictions agreeing on a way forward, and then a way that if it is necessary to retrofit, that there be certain conditions met before anybody could be required to retrofit their property. I share the gentleman from Prince William's concern. This is a serious matter and what have you, but I think the state needs to move forward together on this as opposed to this coming out of one jurisdiction. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. What purpose is Senator from Rockingham? Senator Obenshain.
Speaking very briefly of the bill, one thing I would want to point out, particularly Senator from Prince William, is that this isn't undermining the ability of local governments to do something. It's simply eliminating the ability of local governments to go back and address properties for which site plans and building permits and certificates of occupancy are already issued. This makes it clear that buildings proposed in the future, site plans submitted in the future, anything after January 1, 2018, are subject to reasonable regulations. So if Harrisonburg or anybody else wants to impose some limitations like this in the future, they can do it. But it's just fundamentally unfair to look back and impose it retroactively. That's all this does.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1595? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1595 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. House Bill 1595 passes.
House Bill 1598, a bill relating to standards and criteria for congressional and state legislative districts. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I can't ever talk about anything interesting like mulch. Mine has to be like criteria. Mr. President, does it have amendments?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. President, I move passage of House Bill 1598 and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is similar to a bill that we debated already on the Senate floor, and it has to do with redistricting criteria. What the bill does is it refers to criteria that we have debated before, as I mentioned. This bill is nearly identical to Senate Bill 106, which passed this Senate body. The only difference is a second enactment clause, which addressed a formatting issue. We have redistricting criteria bills and resolutions in previous years that have included the only controversial language that came up on the debate in this body, and that had to do with existing political boundaries shall be respected to the maximum extent possible. I'm just going to speak to that because I think that's probably the only issue that will arise here in this debate. That maximum extent possible means exactly that existing political boundaries are to be respected as much as possible. But the subsection, just to be clear, actually contemplates that departures could be necessary in order to comply with other redistricting criteria. And the criteria in subsections B and C that are listed here are rooted in the U.S. Constitution and federal laws and judicial decisions that interpret those laws. And a subsection in state law about existing political boundaries is not going to trump those requirements. And I think that was the issue that many people in this body had. And I will just tell you that to the extent that the criteria that's in this legislation is used, it is the same exact criteria that has been introduced in virtually every criteria bill that has come before this body. Myself, the senator from Fairfax, which part? Fairfax, and I have co-patroned together, and other members of this body in 2015 and 16 and 2017 and now 2018. So it's the same language that you've seen before. I think we have debated redistricting reform. It's been introduced in various forms, but I would just tell you that I think it's important that we at least adopt the criteria of compactness and contiguity and all the reasonable parameters that I think our constituents expect of us. And expect of us when we do our redistricting and we redraw our boundaries. And so with that, I would just ask the body to please pass the bill. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Northern Fairfax? Senator Howell rise.
Thank you.
Northern.
It's Northern. Thank goodness I'm not senior.
Yes. Yes, that will never happen.
Mr. President, I just rise to say I do not support this bill. This is Senator from Winchester, Stafford, Fauquier is correct that it has the language in it that I had always supported and had in bills, but it's lacking the most important language, and that's the language directly dealing with gerrymandering. So I will not be supporting this bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Southern Fairfax? Senator Barker rise.
President, I rise to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I rise to speak in opposition to this bill. As referenced by the senator from Fauquier, I think that the language that is in there as it relates to having the jurisdictional boundaries, political boundaries, be respected to the maximum extent possible, and in essence places it above all other criteria except those that are federally mandated. I think what that does is it limits the ability to draw districts fairly across the Commonwealth. It means that things like compactness, which is already in our Constitution, is in effect trumped by a standard that would be in the code but not in the Constitution, and it would put it would in effect having jurisdictions be the key pin for drawing all districts. You would automatically have much less compact districts than what we have right now. So, in addition, as I pointed out in consideration of the Senate bill on this same topic, some of the states that have tried these types of things have had very poor outcomes with them. The two most common things that end up happening are, one is that they end up with districts that are not competitive, which is what's happened in several states, and in many institutions they also end up with districts that are not consistent with the voting patterns of the state as a whole. Which is actually an issue that is being addressed at the Supreme Court at this particular time. So I would hope that we would defeat this measure. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is the senator from Roanoke City? Senator Edwards rise.
Mr. President, we saw this a few weeks ago in the form of a Senate bill, as it was mentioned. I would hope the body would look at this and realize that this doesn't work. As the senator from Southern Fairfax and of Northern Fairfax both pointed out, when you say the locality line should be dealt with to the maximum extent possible, you're elevating that above everything else, above one person, one vote, which is a constitutional requirement. And if you try to do it, it just doesn't work mathematically, and it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole. Most of the local lines were drafted in the 19th century, so we're trying to put a 21st century peg into a hole that was built in the 19th century. It just doesn't work, and I would hope the body would vote no.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1598? Seeing none,
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
We already have debated this for 2 days, but just speaking briefly to it.
Senator has the floor.
I would just point out that it is not elevating compactness above everything else. The original bill that you had from the Senate that came through P&E, where I sought an amendment to try to please folks, was simply about compactness. It was pointed out that it was silent on the Voting Rights Act. It was silent on the 14th Amendment. And those, of course, supersede anything we can do here. But to assuage those concerns, I included that in my bill to make sure that it wasn't something that we were just following because we had to, but because they're things that we believe in. And so I would just point out that this is not putting compactness above everything else. And I would also highlight that when we say we already have a compactness requirement in the state constitution, look at any one of our districts and tell me if you think that amendment or that provision is very meaningful. So I hope it'll be a pleasure of the body to pass the bill again.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Hampton? Senator Locke rise.
Mr. President, I would just like to point out that the case in 2013 of Shelby versus Holder pretty much rendered the Voting Rights Act null and void.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. If no one else wishes to speak.
Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1598? Seeing none, Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to clarify a point, and that is just to make it clear, and I know the senator from Roanoke City just spoke against this bill, but this is language that virtually every member of this body voted on before, including the senator from Roanoke City, year after year after year. And I'm not sure what it was that made this language pop this year, because all we're not saying that we're elevating this above everything else. We're simply saying that existing political boundaries, we'll make every effort to respect those political boundaries, because that is, in fact, what creates all the challenges for our local governments and for our local communities when we take local political boundaries and we hack them up. That's all this is saying. And so I would just encourage the members of the body that when we go out there and we talk to people who are opposed to gerrymandering and who would like for us to adopt redistricting reform, that that's all this is. And we had it before this body over and over and over again and have adopted this nearly unanimously in the past. So I don't know what is different this year, and that's all I would say to the members of this body. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall House Bill 1598 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 17.
Ayes 23, noes 17. House Bill 1598 passes.
House Bill 45, a bill relating to family life education curricula, personal privacy, and personal boundaries. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. Speaking of the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is a fairly simple bill. It adds to the family life curriculum a provision that the importance of personal privacy and personal boundaries be added.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 45? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 45 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 45 passes.
House Bill 226, a bill relating to medically or ethically inappropriate care not required. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that that the bill passes. Speaking of that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill is now nearly identical to Senate Bill 222 that passed out of this body overwhelmingly a couple of weeks ago. It establishes when a physician may determine that they do not have to provide care. The only difference between this bill and the one that you voted on before is that it takes out kind of the med mal protection as it related to the standard of care as it was determined it was unnecessary. I would hope we would pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators? What purpose does Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, I would hope the body would support this bill. This almost identical to the one I carried earlier. They got out of this body by a wide margin. There's a technical change, but this bill, I'm hoping we will conform my bill to this bill when it comes over here. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 226? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 226 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. House Bill 226 passes.
House Bill 304, a bill relating to certain fraud crimes, multi-jurisdiction grand jury, Virginia Consumer Protection Act. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of the substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking of the bill,
Senator has the floor.
First of all, I have no idea why it says multi-jurisdictional grand jury. I suspect it's an effort by the clerk to undermine my argument and to sabotage this bill because it has nothing to do with the multi-jurisdictional grand jury. All this bill does is it adds to the Virginia Consumer Protection Act offenses of obtaining money by false pretenses and financial exploitation of mentally incapacitated persons. Right now, the Consumer Protection Act addresses door-to-door salespeople who take advantage of people, commit fraud, steal from them. This simply adds to the list of Consumer Protection Act offenses, those contractors who go and try and sell elderly people on new roofs and other unnecessary home improvements. That's the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 304? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 304 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0. This was not my bill.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 304 passes.
House Bill 347, a bill relating to the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia longitudinal data, reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass and speaking in the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this continues the work on the longitudinal data that we've been working on for a number of years for higher education. This does a little bit further of a drill down, and it allows that the students be known or be able to get information related to the average salaries that they will get if they pick a certain type of diploma. It also disaggregates some of the degree level information and puts it on the website. I hope we would pass the bill.
Thank the senator. What purpose does the senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black, rise?
Speak to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want the members to be aware that the terminology of longitudinal data is the terminology of Common Core. Common Core is gradually being implemented in various places with very, very negative results. And so just as you vote for it, be aware that that is a part of the integral terminology of Common Core. Thank you.
What purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Mr. President, I couldn't let this go.
Senator has the floor.
We are not a Common Core state. We are not even close to being a Common Core state. There are 40-some states that are. The reason that we didn't is because the SOLs were required a lot more work and were more comprehensive, covering more areas than the Common Core. So this bill has nothing to do with the Common Core. We're not going to become a Common Core. We're not going to hell in a basket, excuse my language, Madam Clerk. So there's no reason why you can't support this bill.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 347? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 347 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 347 passes.
House Bill 552, a bill relating to definition of restaurant exception bed and breakfast operation, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. Speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill simply allows a bed and breakfast to serve certain food items without having to go through the entire state board regulations. It is very narrowly drafted, and I hope we would pass the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 552? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 552 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 552 passes.
House Bill 581, a bill relating to inspection stations appointments, reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill basically allows an inspection station which currently now has to have one lane reserved for appointments to have the option of whether that lane is reserved or whether they hold it for reservations. It would have to be a two-lane facility garage, and if that one lane is now being held for reservations, they can use it for other purposes. Hope it'd be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 581? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 581 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 581 passes.
House Bill 708, a bill relating to rear-facing child restraint devices, reported from the Committee on Transportation, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we pass that by for the day before we consider the floor amendments? There's some changes we need to make.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 708 will be passed by for the day.
House Bill 800, a bill relating to towing fees, reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is the bill that we had much discussion about, of the $135 that goes to a $150 cap for towing fees for private tows. This bill strips out all the language that was above it, dealing with heavy towers and so forth. And this simply allows towers to cap that fee at $150 instead of $135. Hope it to be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 800? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 800 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 17.
Ayes 23, no 17. House Bill 800 passes.
House Bill 879, a bill relating to hospitals and nursing homes' frequency of inspection, reported from the Committee on Education and Health, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the floor amendment. It is an emergency clause.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. Speaking that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is a bill that relates to the frequency by which hospitals and nursing homes will be inspected. And in general, what it does is it helps us line up the federal inspection and the state inspection. And the concern is given some of the changes that take place, if we don't put an emergency clause on it, they'll actually end up going through multiple inspections. I hope we would pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 879? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 879 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 879 passes.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side where we passed House Bill 768, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
Page 27. Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 768 was passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having previously been explained, this is the bill that sets the floor on fuel tax in Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads. Move that it pass.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall House Bill 768 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 12.
Ayes 27, noes 12. House Bill 768 passes. Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the presiding side for House Bill 709, page 27, could that bill be reconsidered?
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 709 was defeated be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from
Mr. President.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Without objection, could that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 709 will go by for the day.
Returning to page 32, House Bill 885, a bill relating to on-site sewage systems authority of the Board of Health. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that House Bill 885 and House Bill 887 on page 32 go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 885 and House Bill 887 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1000, a bill to permit school boards to employ certain individuals under certain conditions. Reported for the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speaking that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill really conforms to Senate Bill 343 from the senator from Lynchburg, and it passed out of here 38-2. The bill prohibits any school board from employing any members that have been convicted of some pretty serious crimes, including acts of violence, child molestation, sexual abuse, and rape of the child. And I would hope that we would pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, rise? Okay, no problem. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1000? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1000 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. House Bill 1000 passes.
House Bill 1055, a bill relating to discretionary sentencing guidelines, written explanation. reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill deals with the discretionary reasons that a judge has to write on any order when they depart from the sentencing guidelines. As the bill originally came to the Senate, it was a requirement that the judge write the order, but with the amendment now on the bill, it only requires that the Supreme Court report to us who is deviating from the order and from not writing those on the orders and how frequently they are deviating. Mr. President, renew the motion that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1055? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1055 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. House Bill 1055 passes.
House Bill 1276, a bill to authorize the Department of Transportation to review implications of enrollment in a federal pilot program or project. Reported from the Committee on Transportation with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass and speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, many of you will remember this bill was here in form of a Senate version. It's a study to look at the 91,000-pound possibility of trucks that are 6 axles. And it is a study that VDOT, directing VDOT to conduct with the axle spacings, the bridge crossings, and so forth. It's simply a study now, and I'd hope it'd be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senator?
Mr. President.
What person senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, rise?
The gentleman from Grayson resume the floor for the purposes of a question.
Will Senator yield for a question?
Gladly.
And I apologize for not talking to you beforehand. I apparently was out of the room when I leave my proxy in transportation lab. But with these amendments, it's not even a study. Is it something that the Department of Transportation may study, but they don't have to?
No, the amendment says they shall study.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1276? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1276 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. House Bill 1276 passes.
House Bill 1600, a bill relating to public schools, student discipline, long-term suspension. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is a compromise bill that relates to school discipline and long-term suspension. It does reduce most of these long-term suspensions from 364 down to 45 days. However, there are cases where you can continue to have the longer suspensions, including weapons, drugs, serious bodily injury, and also when there are aggravating circumstances. Mr. President, I would represent to you that this is a compromise between all those that were interested in the subject matter, and I would hope that the bill passes.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1600? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1600 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. House Bill 1600 passes.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move that all the House bills on the second reading on the uncontested and regular calendar, including all House bills on pages 34 through 35, including House Bill 83 through House Bill 1541, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended in the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 34 through 35, House Bill 83 through House Bill 1541 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 40.
Ayes 39, noes 40. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Oh, I'm sorry. Ayes 39, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
I would now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on the third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on third reading. Senate Joint Resolution 133, confirming the appointment by the governor of a certain person communicated February 2nd, 2018.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the resolution. And speaking to that motion?
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the next to the last of the governor's appointments resolutions that I am carrying on his behalf. And this one is the head of the Department of Elections. And I would ask that the body please adopt the resolution.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would move that the rules be suspended and Senate Joint Resolution number 168 be taken up for immediate consideration.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended and Senate Joint Resolution 168 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
Senate Joint Resolution number 168, commending Gladys West.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move the resolution be agreed to, and speaking to that briefly.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, very recently I learned, actually through our local newspaper back in King George, that there is a constituent who helped develop GPS at Dahlgren Naval Facility, and this commends her for that and her work as a mathematician. And I hope we're going to be able to make a presentation of this resolution soon, so we need to pass it so we can get it framed and so forth and so on. So with that, I move it passed.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thanks again, Mr. President. I also would move that the rules be suspended and House Joint Resolution number 306 be taken up for immediate consideration.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and House Joint Resolution 306 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
House Joint Resolution number 306, commending the Honorable William J. Howe.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move the resolution be agreed to, and speaking to that very briefly.
Senator has the floor.
This is the corresponding House resolution to the Senate, one that we've already passed, naming Speaker Howe the outstanding Virginian, or recognizing him for being named the outstanding Virginian.
Thank the Senator. What purpose is Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake rise? Okay, no problem. The question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to.
We have conferees named on two bills on page 4 of your calendar. House Bill 482. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senators McDougall, Stewart, and Howell. On page 7 of the calendar, Senate Bill 389. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chairman of Education and Health, or Senators Chafin, Donovan, and Barker.
Madam Clerk, Senator from James City County.
Inquiry of the clerk, sir. Does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Is there purpose of Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson rise?
Mr. President, we could return for the morning hour.
Without objection, we'll return to the morning hour.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I rise for one last announcement. As you know, tonight's game is tonight. There are three numbers I want you to keep in mind. Pay attention, please, over there. 32, 10,000, and 4.5. 32 minutes will be the length of the ball game. $10,000 is the amount of money we need to raise out of this chamber. 4.5 is the over-under on the number of fouls that Senator Reeves will commit in the first half. I suggest you get the over while it's still available. Yes, time. The time will be 7 p.m. at the Siegel Center on Broad Street. Our game will go off about 7:45. I have a whole bunch of checks people gave me today. Thank you. We're about halfway home on the money. So if you haven't, please get it to me today, and we will continue to seek to find you afterwards. We'll see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Monday, February 26th, the Committee on Commerce and Labor will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Pocahontas, Senate Room A. The Committee on General Laws and Technology will meet 30 minutes after adjournment in the Capitol, Senate Room 3. Tuesday, February 27th, the Education and Health Subcommittee on Health Professions will meet at 8:30 a.m. Pocahontas 5th Floor Subcommittee Room Number 2. Senators Donovan, Suderline, Carrico, Barker, Lucas, and Peake. The Committee on Finance will meet at 9 a.m. in Pocahontas Committee Room B. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 2. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For what purpose does a junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff, rise?
Mr. President, I'd like to do a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, today, whether you know it or not, J.R. Cash was born February 26, 1932. When Cash enlisted in the Air Force, he was not permitted to use his initials as a first name, so he changed them to John R. Cash. In 1955, when signing with Sun Records, he took Johnny Cash as his stage name. Cash's early memories were dominated by gospel music, taught guitar by his mother and a childhood friend when he was 12. In high school, he sang on a local radio station. Decades later, he released an album of traditional gospel songs. In 1954, he moved with his wife to Memphis, and he auditioned with Sam Phillips of Sun Records by singing mostly gospel songs, only to learn from the producer that he had no recorded gospel music. It was once rumored that Phillips told Cash, "Go home and sin, and then come back with something I can sell." Well, Mr. President, Johnny Cash recorded over 1,300 songs, was on hundreds of TV shows and movies. He even was featured on The Simpsons. So with that, I just wanted to do a quick tribute to J.R. Cash, or as we know him, Johnny Cash. Thank you very much.
Thank the Senator. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.